Today we're going to look at the Remove Power Lines feature in Luminar Neo, and we're going to see if it's a hit or a miss. So we're going to start really simple here, and you would think with an image like this, it would handle it pretty easily, right? So we're going to head over to the Essentials area, go under Erase, and this is where you're going to find the Remove Power Lines option. You simply click it, and it's supposed to remove the power line. Now, before you ooh and ah that this thing sucks, sometimes the pictures need some help. So what we're going to do is revert this to the original. And I'm just going to use the Accent AI tool, bring it up quite a bit to improve the exposure of the picture. So if we do a before and after, now you're going to see as I go back to the Remove Power Lines, now it's going to remove it all. So keep that in mind when you're using this feature to make sure your picture is exposed properly first and do all that type of editing before you remove the power lines. So now let's take a look at this example. It's a country road type of scenery. And this is where I find the remove power lines works the best, where when it's against a sky, it can do a fairly good job. So we're going to go ahead, remove the power line, and this is real time. Removes the power lines pretty well. However, it takes away some of the poles. What you can do is restore those areas. If you hit backslash, you can do your before and after, right? What I like to do is look at where I need to restore it. So I'm going to mark it with my cursor here, and I'm just going to go over. Actually, I'm going to increase my brush here. I'm going to go over this area, do another before and after. And then keep doing this until I get roughly the areas that I want to restore. And then we're going to go back to the right here and click restore. And you see we have that part of the power line pole back. In the distance, this one also needs some restoration. So we're going to do the same thing. But you'll notice as I zoom in here that where the power lines were, it took too much of the sky out. So I could restore these areas here. But to be honest, if I had the clone and stamp tool, it'd be easier to clean this up. So when the next updates come with the clone and stamp tool, I would just sample part of the sky. It'd be a lot more easier to clean up, that's for sure. So I have one more example here of a photo I took in downtown Toronto. Now this is a mess of power lines and the streetcar lines, so I wasn't really expecting too much. So we're going to go ahead and remove power lines. You'll notice this one's taking a bit longer because this is a raw file and the files are a bit bigger. I find with JPEGs it doesn't take as long because obviously the files are smaller, but you're going to see it does a pretty decent job. You know, it's fairly clean considering all the lines there it has to clean up. You'll notice here with the street lights that it's taken that out as well. So again, this is where I would use the restoration feature. You get my point. But if we look in the areas where the power lines were, so it took this off really well and it didn't do any damage to anything behind it, which is pretty good. Also up here, you see all of these lines. It did a pretty reasonable job. You know, obviously it needs some cleanup like up here. So it's not bad. It's really not that bad. There is a street light here I can repair as well. Now, obviously, this is the first iteration of this feature, and I'm sure there's going to be some improvements made to it. Maybe if they had like a selection tool where you can just select the areas that you want to remove the power line. So my initial thoughts are that it is hit and miss at times, and you have to be realistic where you can't expect the program to be perfect. It is going to need some cleanup. I'm sure after more time and development that this can be a powerful feature. So in general, for power lines that, have a sky in the background, it can work fairly well with minimal cleanup. If you're doing cityscapes and there's buildings in the background, especially buildings with texture or patterns, it might struggle a bit and would require more cleanup, more fine tuning. With that being said, I'd love to hear how you are finding the remove power lines feature. Is it working for you? What are the issues you're running into? For now, my friends, get out there, hit record, create, and I'll see you when I see you.